All right, we are back with insider betting. We've taken a few weeks off. Obviously, there was no UFC, but we got Mackenzie Dern, a fan favorite, taking on Amanda Ribas this weekend in their second fight. Actually, it's a rematch. But first things first, Jesse, how we doing, brother? It's been a while.
I know we've had 4 weeks. Is that what it is? Is it 3 weekends or 4 weekends without UFC? I forget.
I
It's
forget. I think
been,
it was 4.
yeah. Well, it's good to be back. I'm seeing all the memes of Mackenzie Dern fight week kicking off the year, so that's been fun. No, it's exciting. And next week, Los Angeles, UFC 311. It's they're kicking off the year the right way. I'm excited. It's like, I think 3 weeks is too long, so I'm happy to be back.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. No, I'm pumped for UFC. It's like, what do we do on Saturdays?
I know.
It's just like there's some Saturdays I was sitting at home and I was like, man, I wish it was just UFC. Like it's just something to do. But
Luckily, we had boxing. That's the one thing we had. We had
did.
boxing just before Christmas. But I hope
It's
everybody
true.
had a good Christmas, holidays, everything.
Everybody had a good Christmas. Happy New
Yeah.
Year to everyone as well. And yeah, anyway, let's get into the first card here. We got Punahele Soriano taking on Uros Medic. We have Soriano, he's coming off of a win against Miguel Baeza. Uros Medic, he is also coming off of a win against Tim Means. It's kind of like a grappler versus striker matchup in a sense, with Soriano being a little bit better on the ground there and Medic being the better striker. Medic has a 100% finish rate, which I think is important to note. He's got 8 knockouts and 2 submissions and 10 wins. He's a little bit taller too, but the reach, I don't think is going to, considering Soriano's reach is longer, I don't think it's going to play a big of a role. But usually it does when you have these strikers, right? If they have the longer reach, they can kind of keep the distance from the grappler. But anyway, Soriano, he's considered a better grappler, but in reality, he really shouldn't be. He had 5 takedowns against Miguel Baeza, and those were his first takedowns since 2019. So don't get me wrong, he's still solid, but that takedown average has got a couple outliers in it. Either way, Uros is the favorite. I think he deserves to be the favorite. I think he's just going to be the better fighter overall. He's got good takedown defense, and I think he's just going to do more to beat Soriano. Probably going to go to decision. I don't know if I see a knockout in this fight, but potentially.
Yeah, I mean, Soriano, he's like one of those guys because he's got that Hawaiian heat. He's got like real Hawaiian Islander strength. So he's got good knockout power. It's weird because I don't see Soriano as like a grappler at all. I feel like every single fight I watch with him, he's always standing up. Like he has a fight. There was a fight against Roman Kopylov where he actually got TKO'd by body shots. And that fight was just like standing and banging. And like he probably should have wrestled a little bit more because I think he was a wrestler in high school because I interviewed him once. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correctly. So he probably should implement wrestling more. He doesn't do it a lot. I think he's always like a threat for the knockout just because he's got some good stand-up. But yeah, it kind of just feels like Medic is a better bet here. And yeah, I kind of like decision, but I'm not sure how to bet it. I would probably lean decision if I were I don't know what the odds are in that actually.
Yeah, it's interesting because Uros obviously has like 100% finish rate. And sorry, I misspoke. Not a grappler. He's more of a wrestler, I guess. He's got a bit of a judo background. He's got a wrestling background as well from high school and college, and he utilizes it a little bit. But you're right. Like he like you can see he lands almost 5 strikes per minute. He definitely stands and
he
banks
does
as well.
like to strike for sure.
Yeah,
like he's one of those guys. But no, you're right that like he should use it more because I think that he ends up kind of getting into like these stand-up brawls and it doesn't serve him well a lot, but he just likes to go that way.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But
But it
yeah,
should be an
Medic by
interesting fight to
decision.
open up the main event.
He has a
Or the main card.
100% finish rate.
Medic, yeah, not in his wins.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. All right, okay.
Yeah. Like he's got 8 knockouts and 2 submissions and 10 wins, and he's only got 2 losses. And I think they were both. No, I actually don't know. I don't want to misspeak.
Uros Medic by KO.
He's lost twice by submission, actually.
Plus 140 KO or TKO. That might be the way to go then.
Yeah. What's the decision odds?
Plus 300.
Plus 300.
It's close. Yeah. Flip a coin, take one of
Yeah.
those. Flip a
Yeah, I
coin.
guess they're just leaning because of the they're just leaning because of the what's it called? The finish rate. That's all.
Yeah,
But I think a
right.
decision is more likely. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm feeling that.
Anyway,
The NFL season is winding down, unfortunately, but the NFL wildcard games and the playoffs are coming up, and Inside Fighting, we're happy to say, has partnered up with DraftKings, who is an official partner of the NFL. And right now, if you're a new DraftKings customer, you can go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, bet $5, you'll receive $200 of bonus bets if you use our promo code Inside Fighting at sign up. You can use those bonus bets on same-game parlays, or if sports betting is not yet available in your state, do not worry about it. Just go play DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports and get in on the action there. Again, if you're a new DraftKings customer, go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, bet $5, you'll receive $200 of bonus bets if you use our promo code Inside Fighting at sign up. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The crown is yours.
next fight, we got our boy Austin Bashi. We're one of the OGs, one of the OG media outlets to, I think, recognize Austin Bashi's abilities as an MMA fighter. He's 13-0. He's only 23 years old. We've probably done 4 interviews with Austin at this point? 3?
Yeah, 3 or 4. Yeah.
Yeah, and we started right before his Contender Series debut, I think. So I think he went 12-0, and then we interviewed him, and then he had his win, and then we interviewed him again, and then right before this fight, we had another interview with him. But anyway, good friend of the show. We're really excited to see him. He's an undefeated Dana White Contender Series prospect at 13-0, and he's 23 years old, like I said. Christian Rodriguez, on the other hand, he's kind of known for defeating UFC prospects, most notably being Rowe Rosas Jr., who just absolutely gassed against him. I think, and with no disrespect to Raul Rosas, because he's obviously more experienced than Bashi, and we haven't seen Bashi in the UFC yet. But I think Bashi's a little bit less one-dimensional than Rosas Jr. Rosas is really good for his grappling and all that, but Austin Bashi is unreal. I think he averages like 18 takedowns. Yeah, like I don't know if that's what he got in his Contender Series debut, or if that's kind of what he averages in professional career, but that's literally what's on the UFC's website, is that he averages 18 takedowns per fight, which is nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so he's clearly really good on the ground, but he is a really solid striker as well. I don't think he's going to gas like Raul Rosas did. I think it's going to be an easy victory. Being minus 270 on your UFC debut is kind of wild. But I guess Christian Rodriguez is coming off of a loss, so kind of fair enough. But anyway, that's kind of what we're looking at in this fight. I got Austin Bashi, if that wasn't clear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like a little shocked by the 18 takedown thing. I'm wondering if he's had some like short fights where he got like 4 takedowns in like 2 minutes and then ended up getting a finish or something, and that's those numbers got inflated somehow, because that's crazy.
Yeah.
He in interviews with him, he said that he sort of sees himself most like comparable to a guy like Merab Dvalishvili, where he sort of like has this relentless pressure and really utilizes his cardio to sort of gas out his opponent. And it's funny because that he's taking on Christian Rodriguez, because that's the guy that stopped the Rosas hype train, or temporarily stopped Raul Rosas hype train. Yeah, exactly. Just slowed it down.
Yeah.
And Austin Bashi is obviously like one of those guys that's going to get that comp because he's so young. He's only 22 or 23. That's what it says.
23.
So that's very young to be making your UFC debut. You're fighting grown men. I think Christian Rodriguez is kind of like the perfect barometer to set for a fight for Austin Bashi. I'm taking Bashi. I do think it's a dangerous fight for him. I'm not gonna lie, just because I do think that Rodriguez
100%.
has some good like takedown defense, and has good grappling defense and things like that. So it's going to be a wrestling defense. It's going to be a test for him. I'm leaning Bashi by decision, just because I think he's going to be tough to finish Christian Rodriguez, and that's a minus 110. So they're kind of right there with me. But submission is a plus 400. I think that's like your best play, is like in terms of high value money. but it's kind of just even money betting on him to win by decision. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but all I know is that like this kid is special, and
He's legit. He's legit. Look how big he is for 23 as well. Like I think Rose's junior is only 19 or 20. I could be wrong about that. But he's like a lot smaller than someone like Austin. So it usually takes a while to kind of build that kind of muscle, but clearly
well, not based on the photo that we have here. Austin looks like a lot smaller than Christian Rodriguez.
Well, okay, you know what? Yeah, there's clearly a blunder where it's like he's 5'7", 5'6", so we try to make him like a little bit like live comparison.
Right.
But he looks like he's 5'4" versus 5'7".
Yeah.
But still, you can see that he's puffed out. You know, he's not a
yeah, no.
What it looks like.
he's like a total like all-American corn-fed wrestler. Like the dude, he's built like a brick house.
Yeah.
He's also homies with Jamal Hill, by the way. Not that matters, but just thought it was a funny note.
We got Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov for the next fight. This one's actually kind of interesting because there was news that came out that I think Chris like put it out himself, and that was there was these two Russian guys who came like when he was starting his training camp, to see if they wanted like if he wanted to use them as like training partners. And then a few weeks later, Roman Kopylov comes down to Vegas to start, or not to start his camp, but to continue his camp in the U.S. to kind of adjust to the time zones. Those two Russian guys disappear from his camp. He never hears from them. And then all of a sudden, he sees them in a picture with Roman. So he kind of referred to them as spies. They kind of like infiltrated his camp. But just an interesting story because I don't think you really hear that in the UFC ever. But anyway, Chris Curtis, he's coming off of a loss.
Since apologized, by the way. Did you mention that?
No, I haven't seen the apology.
Yeah,
Roman Kopylov apologized?
Chris Curtis did since apologize and said that he was wrong, that it turns out it was just a mix up because they were like it's something I don't know the exact details, but he basically admitted that they were not spies.
Oh, okay. I did not see that.
That's
a good addition there.
No, but you're right, because this was like one of my favorite stories to end the year, and then kind of sucks that before the fight happens, they kind of squashed it, because I thought that would have been a fun little like narrative going into it. I was a little bummed.
Yeah, he should have kept it. He would have made more money.
Yeah, exactly. more eyeballs in the fight.
Yeah, exactly. But no, Chris Curtis is coming off a loss to Brendan Allen. Kopylov is coming off of a win against Cesar Almeida, who we're actually going to talk about next. He's the co-main event on Saturday. I think this is just an interesting fight. I don't know. I think Kopylov should be a lock. I don't think he'll be able to finish Chris Curtis necessarily. But I think he'll just like outscore him. Kopylov does have a decent ground game, although he doesn't like necessarily rely on it that much. But Chris Curtis has great takedown defense. So he should be able to withstand some of the pressure, although probably not all of it. But I'm just leaning towards Kopylov. I don't think Chris Curtis beats him, but there is a chance. This one is like one I'm not 50-50 on, but let's say like 70-30 on.
Yeah. I mean, Kopylov's like Muay Thai kickboxing is so nasty. The dude has some of like the most brutal knockouts of last year. Like he is, he's like 1 or 2 wins away from being like a guy that could be like really, really dangerous middleweight. The problem is that Kopylov clearly does have some issues with like wrestlers and guys that have good like submission game, because he got submitted by Anthony Hernandez, I believe.
That was his last loss. Yeah.
And his win streak. Yeah, and that was like a fight that I thought he was actually gonna kind of take his step forward, and it slowed him down a little bit. But I mean, Kopylov knocked out Soriano, who we just talked about, with a body shot when they fought at the Apex. He head kick KO'd Ribeiro, I believe. I forget, but I think it was Ribeiro.
Yeah, it was
brutal head kick knockout. It was like just an amazing fight.
Yeah,
the guy has incredible like knockout abilities. Another funny element of this fight is Chris Curtis mentioned that he was offered the Alex Pereira fight 2 years ago. This is just a fun little aside. And then he just was like, he said he's never turned down a fight before, but he said, no, I'm turning down this. This was when Alex was at middleweight, obviously. Mm-hmm. He says, no, I'm turning down this one because I basically have no path to victory. So I think it's funny that he admitted that, but Alex, who's a great kickboxer, well, here you are, you're accepting a fight against, one of the better up and coming stand-up guys in your division. I think it's a tough fight for Curtis, if I'm being honest. And I could see Kopylov maybe not knocking him out, but I think piecing him up on the feet pretty good. I like Chris
Exactly.
a lot. I like Chris a lot, but I just think that Kopylov kind of just has a little bit better stand-up game.
Yeah, it's always dangerous when you're absorbing more shots than you're landing,
Yeah.
especially against
Exactly.
someone who's got power
Well, that's
and is
like
a great
sort of the type of
striker.
fight Chris Curtis gets himself into. He gets himself into some of those wars. Like, I think that's what happened with him and Kelvin Gastelum. He took some big shots in that fight, and
Yeah,
it went to decision. You think he got robbed, maybe, whatever. It was a really close decision, but I think
but he
sometimes
lost it the
he
other day. Yeah,
throws caution to the wind a little bit, maybe.
yeah, yeah.
So, but I like
Um,
Kopylov.
yeah, no, I agree with that analysis. Co-main event, we got Cesar Almeida versus Abdul Razak Alhassan. Both are great strikers. Both have great finish rates. Abdul, 12 knockouts, 12 wins. Cesar Almeida, 4 knockouts, 6 wins. Um, Last fight for Al Hassan was a little bit dirty. And then it had been a no contest with some illegal elbows, I believe, to Cody Brundage. And that was like an early stoppage. Like I think he came out flying, landed a couple of illegal shots, and the ref called it off in the first round. I think, right?
Yeah, that's Cody. Fans were accusing Cody Brundage of exaggerating his head injury.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, um, yeah. So, long story short, based on their finish rates, there definitely can be a knockout in this fight. Abdul has a judo background, so he might be able to mix that in a little bit to kind of mix up the fight. Um, Cesar Almeida's got decent takedown defense at 57%. Al Hassan has a bad takedown accuracy at 38%, even though he averages almost a takedown a fight. Either way, I just don't think it'll be enough. I think that what's going to happen here is even if he mixes in his judo and stuff like that, the longer the fight goes on, the worse it is for Al Hassan. So if he just extends the fight by doing that, he's going to gas either way, and Cesar wins, or he's going to come out hot. And if he doesn't knock out Cesar, he's still going to gas. Um, so I think as long as Cesar can kind of stay calm, land the right shots, keep the distance, and kind of piece him up slowly and make the fight last a bit longer, he'll get the win. And I think that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, every single time I see anything about Alhassan, I'm always shocked that he's 39 years old.
I know he literally looks like 25 in his picture,
Yeah.
dude. Like, you can put him and Austin beside each other, and you're like, they're the same age.
And he fights like a guy who's in his late 20s, early 30s, because he's super athletic. It's always like the first couple of minutes of a fight with him because he's so dangerous in those first few minutes. He really has a lot of power and he has some impressive knockouts. So I think I totally agree with what you're saying. The longer the fight goes, it just favors Almeida in so many different ways. But I would consider a little first round sprinkle, KO sprinkle on Alhassan, just if you're feeling frisky, just because I think there's a lot of value there. And I do think there's a potential for something like that to happen. I'm taking Almeida, probably money line in a parlay. I'm not interested in betting this one too much, but I am interested in a small sprinkle on Alhassan by a first round knockout.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So I think I called this fight the co-main event, but this was the feature fight, obviously.
Okay, got it.
Co-main event. Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. I'm Argentinian. I love Santiago.
Nice.
Been in the game for a while, and both of these guys have. So if I'm being honest here, they're both coming off of a loss. Santiago off of a couple losses. I think these guys are fighting for their careers here, to be honest. I think whoever one loses is probably going to get cut. The winner is probably going to get one more fight and a chance to stay in the UFC. They're just prolonging their careers at this point. I think Ponzinibbio does, I think he does like UFC coverage like in Spanish for the UFC.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's already working on his post-fighting career, 38 years old. He should be. Interesting enough, Carlston Harris actually opened up as the favorite. And the odds have since shifted. I think that Ponzinibbio is a really solid striker, and he's got pretty decent takedown defense at 66%. And although Carlston Harris is not bad. He's got decent grappling. He tends to sneak a couple takedowns every fight, but I think he's just continuously shooting them, and he tries to get like little sneaky ones in there. But his takedown accuracy is pretty brutal at 29%. Long story short, I think Ponzinibbio is going to do enough to get back up on his feet when he gets taken down. And I think he's going to be able to do a lot more on his feet than Carlston Harris is going to do. And so I'm going with Ponzinibbio here, but there's a lot of bias involved with that one. So don't take my advice to heart here.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, no disrespect. This feels like an Apex fight. I'm just
why it's there.
I know I'm not interested in this one, and I don't know who to pick at all. So I'm probably just better off not giving any advice on this one.
Yeah,
flip a coin. I think Ponzinibbio has fought tougher competition, if I'm correct in that. Like I haven't looked at Carlston Harris's like opponent's record, but like I just know that Ponzinibbio has been up against some tough opponents from time to time.
Yeah, Ponzinibbio overall has stronger opponents. Carlston Harris lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov in the past, but that was his probably biggest fight, I'd say.
And that was round one. That was a first round spinning hook kick to ground.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's fought Impa Kansagane, or I always forget how to pronounce that guy's name. Yeah. I'll take Santiago.
There you go.
I'm not
betting
betting on it, but that's who I think will win.
It's been a few good years for Argentinians in sports, so we'll run it back. Hopefully 2025 starts hot. I'm actually really excited for Esteban Ribovic. I think he's going to be really exciting in 2025.
Well, he had one of the most exciting fights of 2024, so
yeah, I was there. It was nuts.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Anyway, main event, the reason everyone's here, Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas. This is a rematch, as I mentioned when we kind of started the episode. Amanda Ribas won that first fight. This fight was actually supposed to be the co-main event at UFC Tampa. And I guess that event, I actually don't know why it changed, but I guess Tampa was doing well enough and they knew Mackenzie Dern sells. So they're like, fuck it, we need a main event. They didn't want Ponzinibbio being the main event here, which makes sense. Mackenzie Dern is tough as fuck. She gets hit more than she lands, similar to Chris Curtis that we're just talking about. She's a great grappler, but at 19% her takedown, or sorry, I had 19% of my notes. 30% her takedown defense isn't the best necessarily, but she is good on the ground. I think what's going to happen here is I think that all around Amanda Ribas is the better fighter. I don't think either fighter has changed too much since they last fought. And I'm probably just going to go with Amanda Ribas here. But yeah.
I'm just excited for the memes that are going to come out of this fight. Like when the first time that this fight goes to the ground, there's going to be screenshots all over UFC media. It's ridiculous. This is what I've been seeing all week. It's just like photos of Mackenzie Dern like on the ground. She brought her dog to media day. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that emotional support dog.
Yeah, that's going into my analysis here. Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas. You know, at plus 154, I don't hate Mackenzie here. I think that's like a pretty decent bet, especially when you consider if you think that this fight could potentially get to the ground. Mackenzie is really, really, really good at jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Amanda, though, what's her like submission rate? Do you know?
She's got 4 knockouts, 4 subs, and 5 decisions. So she's like just like pretty well-rounded overall,
right?
Which is clearly pretty decent on the ground.
And then Mackenzie has
7 subs, 7 decisions.
So they're kind of similar in that regard.
Yeah. Mackenzie, like the only way she wins is.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say Mackenzie. The only way she wins is submission or decision.
But Mackenzie likes to get into these like wars on the feet for some reason with strikers, and
she does, and she won't get knocked out. I don't think.
Jessica Andrade, she like decided to like get. It's almost like Brian Ortega a little bit, where he just wants to box rather than use his jiu-jitsu. And I think Mackenzie falls into that trap a lot, and that's how she got knocked out by Andrade. Like I think that if she can get this to the ground, I think she's like a great bet for submission.
Yeah.
Ribas has lost. She's never lost via submission. She has lost via TKO. All right. Ribas by decision, I think, is the right way to go here. I think that's the bet. And I think that I'm not going to get any value out of it, probably, because Vegas is already on top of that.
Over that.
So,
but it's still better odds than the 185.
Where the hell is it? Why is it not in DraftKings? I don't see it anywhere. Do you know the odds on that?
The odds. I'm Googling right now too.
Oh, here it is. Okay. So for her to win, so Mackenzie by submission is a plus 450, whereas Ribas by decision at minus 115, plus 600, plus 1,000 for any sort of finish. So, you know what? If that's the case, just Ribas money line then.
Yeah.
Because you're not gaining it much out. You're getting what? Minus 110 versus minus 185. Yeah, I'll just put Ribas into a parlay, but I don't love it, to be honest. I don't like betting this one because I feel like Dern is like a any minute submission threat throughout the fight kind of deal. So long as she's not getting like totally beat up.
I agree. They actually think that KO or decision is the most. It's minus 185 for Amanda Ribas to win like that. Or submission and decision is minus 165.
Oh, you mean for a double chance or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so you get better odds on submission or decision versus KO or decision, which is interesting because I would think it's the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way Mackenzie looked against Lupi Godinez. I think that she did pretty well for herself.
I agree.
So I don't know. I'm sort of split on this one, man. But
yeah.
Anyways, whatever. Ribas by decision.
Anyways.
Yeah.
UFC 311 is next week, and it's going to be much more exciting to talk about. So I can't wait to that. Still going to watch these fights though. But anyway, it's been a good episode back, brother, and we'll chat next week.
Yes, sir.